Welcome to Screen Hollywood, the home of movie news and entertainment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Everything feels darker, more subdued, more grounded. The lighting is moodier, the atmosphere feels heavier, the emotional weight is far greater. A young man carrying an enormous emotional burden. And honestly, I loved that, Sadie Sink. What a performance. Seriously, she absolutely knocks it out of the park. Instead of asking, will Spider-Man succeed? The question becomes, can Doomsday possibly top this? He's carrying far more than simply the responsibility of being Spider-Man, because superheroes only become interesting when you care about the person underneath the mask. Brand New Day understands that. This is undoubtedly one of his strongest performances as Peter Parker. I never thought I'd be making this video. Not because I don't like Spider-Man. I've always enjoyed the films. But if I'm being completely honest, I've never been one of those die-hard Spider-Man fans. I've always gravitated towards darker superheroes. Batman, the Punisher, characters living in morally gray worlds. Spider-Man has always been bright, colorful, family-friendly, fun. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It just isn't normally my thing. So when I walked into the cinema to watch Spider-Man, Brand New Day, I expected to have a good time. A few laughs, some impressive action, a decent Marvel movie. What I wasn't expecting was to walk out of the cinema with an entirely new respect for the Spider-Man franchise. Because this movie completely blindsided me. Marvel needed this desperately. Let's be honest, Marvel has had a difficult few years. There have been successes, absolutely, but there have also been projects that struggled to connect with audiences. The Marvel machine hasn't quite felt invincible like it once did. For over a decade, Marvel could seemingly release anything, and audiences would turn up. That isn't the case anymore. The expectations are higher, the scrutiny is harsher, audiences are more selective. That's why Brand New Day feels so important. This isn't just another Spider-Man movie. This feels like Marvel reminding the world exactly why people fell in love with these characters in the first place. And judging by the opening numbers, audiences have responded in spectacular fashion. The film has smashed Thursday preview records by gaining $72 million in one day, with incredibly strong early box office momentum, while analysts are already forecasting one of the biggest opening weekends in cinema history in excess of $500 million. That's phenomenal! Now, nobody knows exactly where the final number will land. I definitely think it will be over 400 million. Forecasts will continue changing over the coming days. But one thing already seems clear. This isn't simply a hit, it's becoming an event. Here's something I don't think enough people are talking about. Yes, Marvel will be delighted. Disney executives will be delighted. Cinema owners will certainly be delighted. But I actually think the enormous success of Brand New Day creates a brand new problem. Avengers Doomsday. Think about it. For months, Marvel has been building anticipation towards Doomsday. It's supposed to be the next gigantic event movie, the next chapter that brings everyone together. But what happens when one of your solo films becomes the movie everybody is talking about? Suddenly, the pressure shifts. Instead of asking, will Spider-Man succeed? The question becomes, can Doomsday possibly top this? That's a very different conversation, and it's one Kevin Feige will undoubtedly be paying attention to. Now, let's get into my spoiler-free review. One thing I really appreciated about this film is that it isn't afraid to take its time. But, ironically, that also creates its biggest weakness. The opening 30 minutes felt a little uncertain. It almost felt as though several different stories were competing for attention. Different plot threads, different emotional beats, different directions. I found myself wondering, where exactly are we going with this? It wasn't bad, far from it. It simply hadn't found its rhythm yet. The film seemed to be searching for its identity. Now, normally, that would concern me, especially in a blockbuster of this size. But then, something happens. Without spoiling anything, the story suddenly locks into place. Everything becomes focused. The pacing improves dramatically. The emotional stakes become much clearer. From that point onwards, the film rarely looks back. Perhaps the biggest surprise was the tone. From Sam Raimi's original trilogy, Right through to more recent Spider-Man films, the franchise has always embraced colorful comic book energy. Bright reds, bright blues, vibrant New York skylines, a sense of optimism. Brand New Day feels different. The cinematography immediately caught my attention. Everything feels darker, more subdued, more grounded. Not quite Batman levels of gothic, but certainly closer than Spider-Man has ever ventured before. The lighting is moodier, the atmosphere feels heavier, the emotional weight is far greater. It doesn't constantly remind you that you're watching a superhero movie. Instead, it reminds you that Peter Parker is, first and foremost, a young man carrying an enormous emotional burden. And honestly, I loved that. Without revealing any story details, this may be the most emotionally vulnerable version of Peter Parker we've seen on screen. He's isolated, he's struggling, he's carrying far more than simply the responsibility of being Spider-Man. For the first time in a long time, I genuinely felt like I was watching the man, not just the superhero. That's an important distinction, because superheroes only become interesting when you care about the person underneath the mask. Brand New Day understands that. It allows quieter scenes to breathe. It trusts emotional moments. It isn't constantly rushing towards the next action sequence. And because of that, when the action does arrive, it feels earned. I've always liked Tom Holland, but after watching this film, I think he's reached another level. This is undoubtedly one of his strongest performances as Peter Parker, not because he's funnier, or louder, or more energetic. Quite the opposite. It's because he's more restrained, more mature, more believable. You can see the weight this character carries, the loneliness, the exhaustion, the responsibility. There's a confidence to Holland's performance now. He no longer feels like someone playing Spider-Man. He simply is Spider-Man. And I honestly don't think enough people appreciate just how much he's grown as an actor over the last decade. Without giving anything away, there was one relationship in this movie that completely stole the show for me. Peter Parker and Frank Castle. When I first heard the Punisher was going to appear, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work. Spider-Man is generally optimistic. Frank Castle, well, he's Frank Castle. They're complete opposites. One believes people can change. The other usually believes criminals deserve a bullet. On paper, it almost sounds like a strange pairing. On screen, it was magic. The chemistry between Tom Holland and Jon Bernthal is absolutely fantastic. There are moments of humor, moments of tension, moments where you genuinely feel Peter is learning something from Frank. At times, it almost feels like watching an uncle and nephew. Frank is the hardened veteran who's seen the very worst humanity has to offer. Peter is still trying to believe the world can be better. Watching those two perspectives collide creates some brilliant dialogue. It's funny, it's emotional, and above all, it feels believable. Honestly, if Marvel gave these two an entire movie together, I'd buy my ticket tomorrow. Now I have to be very careful here, because I don't want to spoil anything, but I simply cannot finish this review without talking about Sadie Sink. What a performance. Seriously, she absolutely knocks it out of the park. When her casting was first announced, there was endless speculation online about who she might be playing. Everyone had theories. Everyone thought they knew. I'm obviously not going to discuss any of that here, but what I will say is this. The way Marvel uses her character is incredibly smart. She brings real emotional weight to the story. She's not there simply to fill screen time. Every scene she's in feels important. Every conversation matters. And by the time the credits rolled, I walked away thinking, that was one of the standout performances in the entire film. Marvel has found themselves another star. Now here's something I honestly didn't expect myself to say. Zendaya impressed me. Those of you who've watched this channel for a while already know I've been critical of some of her performances in the past. Not because I dislike her, I simply haven't always connected with certain roles she's played. So credit where it's due. I thought she was excellent here. Her performance feels more natural, more emotionally grounded. There are several scenes where she brings genuine heart to the story. She doesn't overplay anything. She allows quieter moments to speak for themselves, and that restraint really works. I've always said, if I like something, I'll say it. If I don't, I'll say that too. On this occasion, Zendaya absolutely delivered. One thing Marvel has always done well is rewarding loyal fans. Brand New Day continues that tradition. There are some brilliant Easter eggs scattered throughout the film, some subtle, some much bigger. Some that had my cinema smiling almost immediately. Without spoiling anything, Marvel clearly understands its own history. Longtime fans are going to have a lot of fun spotting the little references hidden throughout the movie. They're never distracting. They never feel forced. They simply reward people who've invested years following these characters. That's exactly how Easter eggs should be used. Perhaps the biggest compliment I can give this film is that it finally feels balanced. There's action, plenty of it. The set pieces are outstanding. The visual effects are excellent. The humor lands. But none of those things dominate the experience. Instead, everything serves the story. That's where Marvel has occasionally struggled in recent years. Sometimes it felt as though the jokes came first, or the action came first. Here, the characters come first. The emotional journey comes first. Everything else supports it. That's why this movie works. Not because it's bigger than previous Spider-Man films, because it's deeper. I genuinely believe this movie has elevated Tom Holland into a completely different category. He's no longer simply the actor who plays Spider-Man. He's become one of Hollywood's biggest leading men, even outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's a huge achievement, because carrying a blockbuster like this isn't easy. And after watching Brand New Day, I have complete confidence that Tom Holland can lead enormous films for years to come. Marvel has always known how valuable Spider-Man is. I think they've just been reminded exactly how valuable. Now here's where things become really interesting. Marvel will obviously be celebrating this success. Why wouldn't they? But if I were sitting inside Marvel Studios today, I'd also be looking ahead. Because the enormous success of Brand New Day inevitably raises expectations for Avengers Doomsday. Every headline, every box office comparison, every prediction, they're all going to be measured against Spider-Man. That's a difficult position to be in. Reports and speculation have suggested Spider-Man may have a smaller role, or potentially no role, in Doomsday, though Marvel has not officially confirmed the full extent of every character's involvement. If that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel's creative team is already thinking very carefully about the future. When one character generates this level of excitement, you naturally start asking how central they should be to your biggest event movies. One thing is certain. Brand New Day has reminded everyone that Spider-Man remains one of Marvel's crown jewels, and that's a very powerful position to be in. Walking into the cinema, I expected a good Spider-Man movie. Walking out, I found myself genuinely surprised. Not because the action was bigger, not because the visual effects were better, but because this movie had far more emotional depth than I expected. It respected its audience. It allowed dramatic scenes to breathe. It gave its characters room to develop. It wasn't afraid to become darker, more mature, more thoughtful, and that's exactly what won me over. If you followed this channel for any length of time, you'll know I'm usually drawn towards darker films. Batman, psychological thrillers, gothic horror. Spider-Man has never naturally fallen into that category for me. Brand New Day changed that. It made me look at this franchise through completely different eyes. And honestly, that's probably the biggest compliment I can give it. Will this become one of the biggest films of all time? Personally, I think it has every chance. That's my prediction. The early box office momentum is extraordinary, and if audiences continue embracing the film through positive word of mouth, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it challenge the biggest blockbusters in cinema history. Whether it reaches those heights or not, one thing is already beyond question. Marvel has hit a home run. And if you haven't seen Spider-Man Brand New Day yet, go and watch it. Trust me. If someone like me, who has never considered himself a huge Spider-Man fan, can walk out of the cinema this impressed, that's saying something. So, what did you think of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Did it exceed your expectations? Where does it rank among your favorite Spider-Man films? And perhaps the biggest question of all, has Marvel just raised the bar so high that Avengers Doomsday is now under even greater pressure? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this spoiler-free review, don't forget to like, subscribe to Screen Hollywood, and turn on notifications for more movie reviews, entertainment news, trailer breakdowns, and opinion-led analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Talking about headlines, bookmark and subscribe to our international news publication at screenhollywood.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.